In the past, the district has had the luxury of mitigating some of these tough times or hits to the budget through revenue from Oxford special education students when we had the couple hundred students here at Massac High School. The general tuition came into the town, the special education tuition came into the district. The money that came in from those students offset expenditures for both the town and the Board of Education. The Oxford students subsidized our education costs. They are now moved on and graduated. They have their own high school. Also, the district has been able in the past to access unused excess cost funds to help in difficult times. However, if I think back when I came on board here as superintendent, the board asked me to please do a review of all financial proceedings just because it's good business to do. As we went through that and we found the excess cost grant, we got a legal opinion, and while it was a wonderful way that we could help our budget, and no monies were ever misused in any way, nothing was ever inappropriate, it was reported every month on the monthly balance statement to the town, to the Board of Finance, it really wasn't the best approach to use our fund. So last fall, as we reviewed all of our finances in-house, because we've been looking at how to do business to make sure we are fully transparent to this community, that we, someone can look at our expenditures and say, yes, that makes sense. At that time, we had $692,000 in the excess cost grant, but it had expired. It was for the previous year. That control reverted back to the town. So last year, that and the money that was not used at the end of 07-08, the Board of Ed reverted the control of over $1.1 million back to the town. The Board of Education has been a very good partner in the town and has always tried to be fiscally prudent and to make sure if there are funds that have not been used, that they are returned to the town. However, with all of that said, yes, it was a great thing to do. Yes, there is no safety net. There are no accounts that are going to help us with our medical reserve. It's got to come out of the operating budget. So I've asked Nancy O'Day-Wyrick, our Director of Finance, to do a little forensic accounting. And I said, could you go back and trace through what was the change in the operating budget year to year for medical? So this is our medical claims and prescriptions. Dental is not a huge factor. It's about $100,000 a year, and it's only gone up a little bit, so I'm not even thinking about dental. If you look at this chart, every single year, 06, 07, 07, 08, up through last year, we counted on a big chunk of our medical bills to be paid by the money we had in the bank, so to speak, in this account. Well, last year, our claims went very, very high and depleted that reserve. So when we look at the budget increase in this column here, you know, this year was actually a negative. We're up to $1.9 million to put in. And that is after we've saved $300,000 by rebidding insurance. It would have been $300,000 higher because we're starting from ground zero. It is a true-up year for insurance. It is probably the worst year economically to have this happen, to absorb this impact. However, with that said, I am putting up here, there's a possibility as we work through the process, depending how things work out, and there's a lot of ifs, but I'm hopeful that there'll be savings maybe of another $300,000 to $500,000 if we can get the right package with the vendor as we negotiate this. And, it's a big and, our claims do not continue to spike. That somehow they've got to level off. Even if they're at a high level, they can't continue to go up. So we've got to monitor our health claims. We've got to work with these new providers that we're talking to. But you know, it's a good time to negotiate. Everyone's hungry for business. We expect to have a new provider decided by the Board of Education by the end of December, which means before the board adopts its final budget, it will have the information necessary to make the best adjustment in its budget. This pie chart, and I think it's blown up on the next page just so you can kind of read it a little easier. This tells the story of our budget. So salary and benefits are 80% of our budget. Salary and benefits because we're a people business. We need people in front of our students. So you have the blue and the red. This starts with the largest amount, salaries, then benefits. And our children expect that if someone calls in sick, oh, I went to the wrong slide. Thank you. Whoop. I'm going totally the wrong way, aren't I? Well, we'll get it. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. It's nice to be live on TV. They can see all your mistakes. Salary and benefits by the pie chart, you can see, take up a lion's share of our budget, as any education budget in the state of Connecticut, as any education budget in this country. The problem is that when your increases in salary and benefits exceeds the yearly increase of funds coming in, the part left over of that pie gets smaller and smaller for other things. The next green piece that you see includes special education. Now, I told you, rightly so, special education students are a privileged, protected class of students. You cannot, I cannot, no one in this country can say, not going to do that, don't have the money. You must take care of special education students based on an individual education plan that is developed with a team of professionals and the parents sitting around a table talking about that child. So if we think about the blue, the red, and most of the green, that is non-negotiable. The only other things we have to work on are those little slices of the pie. And that slice of the pie that's left over, last year, this administrative team took hundreds of thousands of dollars out of line items, reducing equipment, textbooks, instructional supplies. There's only so many places you can go. You still have transportation, energy. You still have fixed costs that you must pay for, even beyond that. As I said, before we touched staffing, we went line by line as a team, and we reduced $713,000 in all these areas. There is no money in this budget for new textbooks. We are hoping to employ a strategy we did last year that if we, and right now there is a 60% freeze on spending and any kind of discretionary spending in this district since there has been July 1st. If we can hold back and still not get some things this year we thought we were going to get, maybe we can get those textbooks at the end of the year. But we're always robbing from Peter to pay Paul by doing that. Professional development cut, building repairs cut. This district has budgeted $50,000 for years and years for building maintenance. We had bumped it up to $150,000. We took it back to $100,000 because that saves a teacher. Risk. This is all risk management. Dues, fees, overtimes, you can read through the entire list. It means that this is a tight budget, and that's why I say if I'm asked to give a recommendation to the board beyond this for more cuts, I believe we're going to have to look at staffing. Major drivers. This just goes with the pie chart. Energy, special education, transportation, and Nita Alarcon will be thrilled to tell you all about all the increases in special education, which does her workshop. Legal fees. We are negotiating 5 major contracts, and that comes with an associated cost. So looking at that $4 million. And with that, that gives you an overview of the budget. There are different sections, as Mr. Trump said, so I'm going to pause here. And that was probably the biggest section. The others will not be as large.